You?
God is good, sir. God is good. How
And I
you
can
doing?
see you're at work, looking sharp as always.
Man, I'm just trying to, got to play the part sometimes, right?
And let's introduce everybody to Mr. Chris Martinez. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Your tie looks amazing. Those are ties that I like wearing. So very sharp looking tie too.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So I've literally watched you for a while. I can't believe you don't have more followers on TikTok because your videos are very good. They're very informative. You've wrote many books. I noticed that you partnered up with Frank recently about a book as well. So you've got all kinds of material out there, all kinds of content.
Yes, sir. I've got quite a bit out there. I've got I've written a couple books and doing quite a bit of things. But lately, my latest passion right now is I moved to San Antonio. I've been running this Mercedes store, and we've just been doing some good stuff out here in San Antonio.
Well, congratulations. When you say running it, what are you doing out there? What's your title? What do you do?
I am the general manager here at this store.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it, man.
How many cars are y'all selling a month? Because San Antonio is a huge city.
Well, when I got here about 90 days ago, they were doing about 90 a month, and last month we did 138, and this month we're tracking a little over 150 and moving on up like the Jeffersons, right? So
I love that saying. I love that. Moving on up. Absolutely.
we're gonna get there though. I think 300 is realistic for this store, and I truly believe we're gonna get there.
Oh, awesome. Well, congratulations. If they got you there, I guarantee it's going to happen.
It's gonna happen, sir. Just a matter of
Awesome.
time.
So how have you changed it so fast, going so high? How has that happened?
It's just the people. It's taking care of the people, training, just making sure that we got the right players in the right positions. And we've been, when I got here, they had like 8 salespeople, and now we're up to 20. And we've been able to acquire more inventory, making sure the marketing is right, making sure that, everything is where it should be. So it's been good.
Well, good for you. Congratulations. I'm super excited to see you more videos, to see your progression.
I appreciate it, man. And I see you're doing some good things now,
I am moving on up, as you would say in your words.
huh?
So yeah, in the process, I haven't told anybody this unless it's been very, very close. But in the process of trying to buy a dealership currently, a piece of one, not a whole dealership.
Yeah.
So got all kinds of stuff working. Got some training coming out.
You know,
Writing a
I did
book.
that. I did that for like three years. The last 3 years, I was looking at stores like nonstop. I was offered several good locations, but nothing quite felt right. So I'm sure you're probably going through this. I know kind of what you're going through. So it's a lot. And unless you're willing to do some things that I wasn't willing to do, I think you can get one pretty quickly. So
Uh-huh.
good luck to you. But you're also writing a book, man. Congratulations.
Absolutely. So
That's
you
like
wrote, I believe, like 7 books.
7 books. Yes, sir. It's brain damage to be honest with you. But when I started aligning my thoughts, I said, I might as well just write a book about it and just start getting going. So that's kind of how I started doing it.
My goodness. Well, 7 books takes a lot of time. Where do you
A
find the
lot
time
of time.
running dealerships and doing all of this? You probably got a family. I mean, how
I
how do
do.
you manage the time?
It takes a lot of time, but you think about like, because you have the passion for this, it comes kind of naturally, right? And
Mhm.
you just start writing things out. A lot of it was talking into a microphone and kind of as it came out, then these new programs where as you talk, it types for you.
Mhm.
So a lot of those things were easier for me to kind of get my thoughts out and then after that just get a really good editor to try to make sure that she actually took care of me and made sure I didn't I sounded halfway like I
Intelligent.
should.
All right, awesome, man. So you look very young. How old are you?
I'll be 44 next month. So
Well, you look good. You take care of yourself, man.
I try to. So it's one of those things that, it's an everyday struggle, right? You got to try to eat right. I've been lately, this last year, I've been on that carnivore diet, and
Yep.
that seems to be working and being very, very helpful to me.
Well, great. Well, you look good. So congratulations. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So let's back up many, many years. So are you from Texas originally? How was your childhood? How did you get in sales? What led you to this amazing profession of sales?
I'm originally from Texas. I actually from El Paso, Texas.
Hmm.
How I got started in the car business, I moved to Las Vegas with my aunt and uncle.
Okay.
And the goal was to work construction with my uncle because he was a lead
Hmm.
in Las Vegas and he was doing really well for himself. And when I moved out there, I have a twin brother, and he said, Chris, I told him, man, I really don't want to go do this. And he goes, well, why don't you go to this new place? It's called CarMax.
Okay.
They uh they tried recruiting him, and so I went in his place. And I said, hey, you guys were trying to recruit my brother, but I'm the next best thing, and I'm here to get the job. And I started talking to him, and they hired me on the spot, and I was there at 22 years old, and just 1 month away from my 23rd birthday.
Hmm.
And when I got there, they flew me to Sacramento because they hadn't even opened the store in Vegas yet. So I had to go to Sacramento for like 90 days, maybe 4 months, and
For what?
to learn the process, learn their process.
Okay.
And then once they opened the store, then I went to Vegas and opened the store, and that was it, man. I started learning the ropes and learning how they did things, and I did that for about 6 years, 7 years. From
Hmm.
from Vegas, I moved to San Antonio. They had a CarMax here locally, and so I moved over here and helped them run this store out here, and we were doing 700 used cars a month.
My goodness.
And then from there, that's when I went to Toyota because I heard they were making a bunch of money. And I went from being a manager for 6, 7 years to going back to the sales floor and fell in love with it, man. I made more money than I ever thought was even possible because, CarMax, I didn't make any money, but I went to sell cars at the Toyota store, man. I started making, big double what I was making at CarMax.
What
And
kind of numbers is that?
I was making a little over 20 grand a month, doing well, and selling 30 plus cars a month. And I just thought, man, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I was like, this is it. And I'm going to sell cars. And I remember when I went to the floor, back to the floor, I said, you know what? This was before I read the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. And I
Hmm.
go, man, I'm going to 10X, I'm going to 10 times everything I used to teach my salespeople. And I'm just going to go, I'm going all in on this deal. And
Great attitude to have. Great attitude. I love it.
sure enough, I selling 30 cars a month, making more money I ever thought was possible. And I was just like, man, this is it. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. And my biggest check, I get the next month, the general manager pulls me in his office and says, Chris, I just became a buying partner of a Toyota store in Austin, Texas. I want you to come with me. And I was like, man, I just made this much money. I bought a house a year. It's 8 months ago, bought a house. My wife's going to kill me. I'm in San Antonio. Austin's not that far. I start trying to talk myself into it. And I said, you know what? Why don't you give me a day to think about it, and let me get back to you. I tell my wife, and she's like, no way. I don't want to move to Austin. I love it here. My kid, our daughter one daughter at the time, she's in high school. There's no way. And I said, well, I'm going to try to commute. I'm going to commute for a little bit. Did that for 6 months, almost killed myself. And helped that store go from 150 cars a month to over 1,000 cars a month. And that was it. We had a lot of good people out there, great people. Helped take that store to number 10 in the nation in volume at Toyota, 1,300 stores. And I said, man, I got to write a book about this. I think it's a great experience, and I wish I had some guidance here. And so I wrote down kind of all the things that it took to get there. And that was the birth of my first book. And it's been good ever since.
What's the name of that book?
It's called Driving Sales: What It Takes to
Oh,
Sell 1,000 Cars a Month.
I'm gonna have to read it. So, what ingredients does it take from selling 100 and something to 1,000, and how quick of a process did that take? Meaning, like how long?
Well, it took 4 years. And reality is what I write in the book is, at every level. I mean, when you go from 100 to 200 to 400 to 600, at every level you grow to, there's gonna be some storming stages, right? So anytime you form a team, you get
Mhm.
the forming stage, and then there's like the storming stage. And then after storming, there becomes a norming stage where everything kind of normalizes.
Right.
From there, you start performing. But that happens at every stage, right? So anytime you add a new player, so you could be in constant storms all the time, right? Like it just happens, right? Like it's, if you've ever you've run stores before, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. You got egos that you gotta like interact with and make sure that you're
Absolutely.
managing and making sure that nobody's killing each other. And you gotta be able to go in there and just, paint the picture, show them the vision, cast the vision, and show them where we're going. And sometimes you need to do that every day with certain individuals. And,
Absolutely.
and ideally you want to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and it makes it a little easier when everyone, shares the same traits that you do. And but at the same time, you don't want to have a bunch of yes people around you. You want people that challenge you too, and you want people that are going to push back at what you're saying, or what you're doing, so that it only going to get you better. So it's a little sprinkles of a lot of different things that help the ingredients really make sure that you rise and get to that next level. So, but I think it was just a culmination of all those things that help you keep growing, but knowing that at every level you're going to have to do it again. You know, you,
Absolutely.
at CarMax, one of the things that they taught me was, you know, you're a brand new manager, and you're going into a brand new store, or it's underperforming store, you have 30 days to turn it around. And every month I had that same practice in my mind, like, okay, at the end of the month, yeah, we did good, but now how do we improve it? How do we get better? How do we refine our process? And um, how do we get together to try to just do more than what we did the previous month or the previous year? And what they say is, what gets measured improves, and you just got to measure everything. So
An
that's
evolving process. I love it.
yeah, that's it. A constant evolution.
Absolutely. How I've never been a part of a store that sold 1,000 cars. That must be like one of the best feelings in the world to see, especially from 100 to 1,000. Like, how many cars would you all say on like sell on your best day? Like, that's amazing.
The best day we had was on a Saturday. We sold 110 cars. Uh, it was pretty neat. What's funny is when I wrote that book, I started writing it a year and a half before we hit 1,000, and I just knew we were going to hit 1,000, and because it was there, all the ingredients were there, right? I got a second lot. I was able to order more inventory. We had the team, and we put the plan in place and just kept pushing that same needle. So, and the same thing here, it's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take a lot of work and discipline, and doing the same things that nobody wants to do, but they're super important. So you do them every day to make sure that the whole team is winning and putting everybody in the right place or right position to win. So it's what we do.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you expect your salespeople to do every day? Because I take massive action. That's just when I was selling cars, whenever I was running a dealership, I always believe in action. And I know you mentioned the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. So you have that mindset as well. What do you expect your salespeople to do every single day if they're at work?
If we have a mantra, if you're not with the customer, you're prospecting. Like that is what you're doing. Like that's the name of the game. If you're not with a customer, you're prospecting.
Yeah.
And we use one of Grant's quotes all the time. It's never lower your targets, increase your actions. So you just, those two things right there, that's just what, who we are. That's kind of what we embody here, and just making sure that we're constantly pursuing those next numbers that to help, amplify not only the dealership's numbers, but the sales professionals' individual numbers.
Right on. That's amazing, man. I can't imagine. I mean, I can, but I can't like 1,000 cars. Not
Yeah,
that many people can ever say that. So that's my hat goes off to you on that one, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's and then my mentor. I mean, he's a big reason why we got there. He that guy, talk about relentless. That guy, he was on top of his game for sure. So I give him all the credit for to pushing those numbers. He was our minority partner at the group or at the store, and he's the one that brought me in that office, so many years ago, and told me, "Hey, I want you to come with me." And he's definitely the man. He always talks about, put the deal makers in front of the deals, and that's kind of what we did.
Absolutely. And is he still there at that Toyota dealership?
He sold it. He sold it a couple of years ago now, and it was the largest, maybe a year and a half ago. There was the largest acquisition of any single point at that time. So, it was, top 10 in the nation, most profitable stores in the country. You think Group One purchased that dealership, and I'm not sure what the end number was, but it was multi nine figures for sure. So
So what is he doing now? Living the good life, or did he get another dealership? Or
he hasn't gotten another dealership, and I'm always asking where his next move is. But he deserves it. He's out there jet setting. He's got his private plane, going to Cabo all the time and just living large. So he's doing good.
well, that's awesome, man. Congratulations again. I can't say that enough. When I hear stories like that, it just like visions and just it makes me feel good. So absolutely. Right now, do you all sell mostly used? Do you sell mostly new at the Mercedes dealership?
It's a combination of both, really. I mean, new has been a challenge of getting inventory, but between new and used, I think we'll sell used to new 2 to 1. Uh,
Okay.
and if the inventory continues the current trend, we'll probably be like closer to 3 to 1. So that's kind of where we're tracking right now, anyway.
So you're still having an issue getting cars.
Still having an issue, yes, sir.
Damn, that sucks. All
Yeah.
right. And I would think is how much competition do you have out there in that area in San Antonio, Mercedes? Because I've never been there, but I've always heard there's millions of people. So I would assume that you have multiple other different Mercedes dealerships.
Yes, there's 3 stores here, ours, and there's one north of us, and there's one kind of south east of us.
So you need to get into their market share, man, to get yours up.
Yes, sir. Well, but I think there's so many people here that, well, not I mean, it's probably 2.5 million people here, right? So it's not quite as big as like Dallas or Houston,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still plenty of business here. There's plenty to go around. I look at Mercedes as, yes, that they're competing dealers, but I'm really looking at Audi and BMW and Lexus and all the other, high-end stores that, I'd rather try to take market share more from them. Because, I think with the limited new car inventory we have, the Mercedes buyer is going to come, right? I've got to find the
Right.
people that are, actively buying at different brands and try to drive our business there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So, what advice would you give a new car salesperson, somebody that's been in the industry for a little bit? They're not really finding their stride, meaning selling a lot of cars. What advice would you give them?
I would tell, well, there's two. So like someone that just started, I tell them just have that student mentality and just, learn as much as you can and to stay away from the people that are gonna, have that negative talk, right? So you don't want to have people, crapping you out throughout the day. Just, stick to the people that are selling and winning, right? And then the people that are kind of just average, just kind of being in there, a lot of times it's, what's your time management look like? And look at yourself in the mirror, because a lot of times you'll see that they're not making the calls, they're not putting enough effort. At the end of the day, they're responsible for themselves. I always tell people, you still need to do the push-ups, right? Like if you want a good, physique, and you still have to go to the gym, you still have to work out. Like nobody's going to do that stuff for you. Like you're still going to have to put in the reps. So
Mhm.
those calls, those text messages, those emails, all of that stuff is still what you have to do to be successful. And if you're not doing enough, you're going to have to start there. So, and more than likely, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, those people are just not putting enough effort in.
Okay. Okay. Do you believe in meetings every day? Or like me, I love meetings every day to talk about what we did yesterday, how we can improve. How often do you do meetings out there at your Toyota dealership that you do now at Mercedes? Do you do them a lot, a little, or?
Well, I try to get huddles in every couple hours, just to see,
Okay.
reflect, hey, what are you guys doing? You've been here 2, 3 hours. Have you put it, what have you done for the last 2, 3 hours? Okay, let's kind of like look back and okay, how many calls did you make? Let's hold each other accountable and see how we can get better together, right? And even me,
Okay.
there's times that, I'll be walking around and I'll say, wait a minute, what does this have to do with selling cars? Right? Like what are we doing that has anything to do with selling cars? And let's get back, because it's just human habit, right? The attention spans like 2 minutes or a minute, and then you see a squirrel walking around and you're like, oh wait a minute, what's that over there? And you gotta stop and just say, all right, what does this have to do with selling cars? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, man. So how many salespeople do you currently have at the Mercedes? Are y'all going to go more? I know you said it was started with 8, now it's about 20. Are you going to grow it more or?
Yeah, to get, well, the old rule of thumb, right? If you want to sell 300 cars, you got to have at least 30 salespeople, right? I mean, it's work time and time again. And I know there's other dealers out there that have been figured out how to sell more with less people, but maybe I'm just not that smart. I still use all the basic principles that have gotten me successful, or the last 22 years of doing this business. Those basic numbers, basic fundamentals seem to work to my advantage.
Did CarMax teach you all of that?
I'd say they taught me the majority for sure. Because when I got there, they had 30 stores. When I left, they had over 100 stores, and I had to do what was called like a general manager in training, because I wanted to
Hmm.
be a general manager there. And they had you go, train as a buyer in the business office for 6 months. You had to work in the service drive for 6 months. You had what they called an individual development plan. Usually takes like 2 years, and you had to complete it if you wanted to get promoted. And so I learned a lot. I had the student mentality. I was young. I stayed, humble and tried to learn and wanted to. That was my university, I say. That was my path to learn everything I could, and I was learning everything I could. And coincidentally, I went to NCM, which is like an NADA school.
Hmm.
It's NCM training, and it was good training. I mean, it was a refresher by far. I mean, everything I kind of knew was there, and then some. There was a couple little nuggets that I took away from parts and service that, from the traditional side is not what I learned at CarMax, but I was able to learn there, and it's been super, super helpful for sure.
Absolutely. Do you believe in training? Do you have your salespeople train every day, or?
Every day, every day. That's
That's what I love to hear.
you have to. You don't go to the Super Bowl and expect to just, train once a month, right? You got to train every day.
Yeah. So are you a Houston fan or a Dallas fan, or who do you pull for since you're from Texas?
I'm a New York Giants fan,
Okay.
even though they haven't been doing really well for quite some time. But when we were younger, my brothers and I all kind of looked at each other and said, "Man," because we like playing football, and we said, "Well, who's our team going to be?" I forgot who it was. It might have been my older brother, my twin brother, or it might have been me. And I said, why don't we just pick our own team? And I remember just saying, you know what, the Giants. I saw a reel, or like highlight reel of Lawrence Taylor, and man, I just said, man, that's going to be my team. Like, look at this guy, he's cool, and he was just, I mean, he was tearing people up. I mean, he was a bad person. Well, not bad person.
He
He
was a
was
bad man. I know what you mean.
yeah. He was really good at what he did, and that was got me pumped up. And I think my older brother picked the Raiders, and my twin brother picked the Houston Oilers, which now that they're not there anymore, I guess they're Tennessee Titans, but I don't even know if they're there around anymore. But he's now going for Dallas. So my twin
Well,
brother have
I got
rival.
a very important question for you. After
What's that?
hearing all of this, your success, what does your brother do now? The one that did not go there to the dealership, what does he do now?
He actually used to work with me in Austin. He was my used car director, and we
Okay.
put out 500 used cars a month out of that store. And but he left when I left Austin. He decided to go into real estate, and he's done really well into real estate. And he's been doing it for, I'd say, 5 years now, and he's been very
Okay.
successful, top in his mortgage group, and or in his brokerage, and he's done really well as a realtor. And his plans are to build his own, brokerage, and he's doing really well.
Awesome. Because my thought process was he ended up going somewhere else. But
You
you
know,
mentioned he got back into the car business. So obviously, if he got out, he found his passion doing something else.
well, I actually recruited him in the car business. He recruited me first by telling me
Yep.
that he wasn't in the car business. He was a property manager that they were trying to recruit him to go work for them.
Hmm.
And when I started, and then I was doing pretty well, I said, man, you should come over here. And so then he started in the car business. And then when I moved to Austin, I told him actually my boss called and said, hey, don't you have a brother in the car business? I said, I do. And he said, well, let me talk to him. And so my boss convinced him to come work with us. And he did really well. And but he wanted to get into real estate. He just said, you know what, I'm going to get into real estate. And I always told people, he's a better salesman than I ever was. And he just, I'm more of an introvert. He's always been an extrovert. And but I push myself and do what's required to get the job done.
Why do you say he's a better salesman than you?
Man, he was always a good talker. He was a kind of just real bubbly personality, always kind of wanted to just make friends with everybody, and I was always quiet, more reserved, and just didn't really like talking, to be quite honest. But as you grow and you lean into the things that you don't feel comfortable doing, you get better, you get stronger, and before you know it, you can do it. Doesn't mean you're not a fan of it, but it's gotten easier.
Okay. And also one question that pops up in my mind, what made you leave the Toyota of Austin where you're selling 1,000 cars? What made you want to leave?
So initially I left because I built a software in the store, and I ended up partnering with somebody that had a partnership with Cardone, and we ended up moving a different direction there. And so after that whole thing kind of, went our separate ways, I said, man, you know what? We had a clause in there that we had to hang out for a little bit. And I said, you know what? I could go back to Austin, or this gentleman, Joe Cooper actually reached out and tried to recruit me at his store. And when we went our separate directions, I ended up reaching out, and he told me, hey, I've got a partner in Tulsa that needs some help with running his stores and would love to have you meet him. And so I reached out to him, and then he made me an offer, and I took the offer there. And then Butch gave me an opportunity during COVID when it happened to turn my software back on, where I reached out to my partner, who, at the time was going through some turmoil with the company he was with. And I said, well, why don't you just come work with me, get the software going, and let's make it happen. Because right now the software that we built was the easiest way I could communicate to customers and do it the most cost-effective way. And I didn't know any other tool out there at the time that could do it. And so that's why I built the tool. And so we ended up doing that, and we hired a team around him, and he took it, and now it's in about 1,000 stores and doing really well. And we sold that in January to a company called Pure Cars, and they've done really well.
Well, congratulations. So you can code, you can do all of that?
Well, I can I have some good ideas, and we hire a team that can do all that. So
Okay, awesome. Well,
but
congratulations
I
again.
know enough to understand it.
Is it like to Kobe, or what is it like when you say engaging with customers?
So it's just creating lists out of the DMS, and so basically it standardizes the data. So I pull the DMS data, I pull the CRM data, we kind of merge everything, clean it, dedupe it, and then we append the emails, phone numbers, addresses. We make sure that they still own the vehicle. We standardize the whole data, and we have a unique identifier that gives us an opportunity to now market to just one person instead of 15 people. That's all the same people. So we reduce our ad spend, but when we create lists out of there, hand them to salespeople, they can call these people, and they're more than likely going to get that customer they're calling, versus, oh yeah, I don't own that car anymore, or this and that. But then it's also the machine to send out mass communication via email, text message, phone, like making voicemail calls. We can upload those same lists into Google Audiences, Facebook, Amazon, any type of social media, like instantly. It just pushes directly to them. So it's pretty robust tool.
Awesome. Do you use it currently at the Mercedes dealership?
Coincidentally, they already had it when I got here. So I was, man, that's good. I already know what we can do. So we're definitely hammering that tool every day.
Absolutely. Did you tell them that you invented it, or did they know that?
The guy that hired me did know that. He did know that, and he said, "Yeah." But when he called me, he said, "And by the way, I've got your software here too." And I said, "Man, that makes it even easier." So let's get to work.
Okay. So did he reach out to you, or were you reaching out to him to get to the GM spot of the Mercedes dealership?
So when I decided to leave over there at the Cooper store, he just coincidentally just happened to reach out. I was already in talks with moving. I was potentially moving to Houston, because I had a dealer reach out to me and wanted me to partner with him in Houston, and it was on a super high-end store. And I didn't, when he told me about it, I was just like, man, the units in operation aren't the greatest in that high line vehicle. But when he reached out to me over here, I was like, man, Mercedes store, San Antonio. I already know the market. I said, partnership sounds amazing, but realistically, I could probably make, 3 times as much at a Mercedes store. So I said, man, I'm gonna do it. So told my wife, she's been wanting to come to San Antonio for the longest time back here. And so we decided to make the jump over here.
Awesome. What's next for you? Are you going to own dealerships or any aspirations to do that?
I have, the last 3 years, I'm telling you, I looked at so many deals. I looked at a bunch. I actually went through the General Motors program to see what I could do to get in the minority program, which they approved me for one. And I was looking where they showed me a bunch of tiny stores that possibly I could have done something with, but there were areas that I just, thinking about my kids, my wife, it would be smaller markets, which I'm not opposed to that, but they were just certain areas that I just didn't feel it was right for my family. So there's deals out there. You just got to be willing to make those big sacrifices, and I'm willing to sacrifice, but maybe not
For the right one.
for the right one.
Well said. All right, man. Well, before we jump off here, would you like to any words of wisdom or anything that you would like to add? Because I've learned a lot from talking to you for 50 minutes.
No, man, I appreciate you reaching out, man. I think your audience, it's cool that you're doing this. I think that anytime I hear people that are in automotive doing things like this, it's always helping everybody get better together. And I listen to a lot of these podcasts and try to learn and see how I can get better every day.
Awesome. Well, I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I wish you and your team the best. I hope you all get to 1,000 cars like you did in Austin.
That'd be great.
Yes, I guarantee it. So thank you very much. And if you have my cell phone number, if you ever need anything, man, you reach out to me and I will always pick up. And if I'm in Texas, I will reach out to you.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. Call me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
You have a good one. Take care.
Bye. Bye.